Hey, we're here. Welcome to Prop Talk. Yet another version with Mikey Trudel and myself, Chris Call, in the room today with Josh Roth.
Hi.
Welcome, Josh. How are you?
I'm good. Good. How are you guys doing?
Yes, well, great, because we are post-strike. I can say it. Can I say it? I don't care.
I
I'm
think you
saying
can say it,
because
yeah.
I have to say it. It's not ratified yet, but who knows? But
I don't know what the deal is with that, because they officially went off strike.
right.
But so if they don't ratify it, do they have to vote to go back on strike? Or?
I don't know. I mean, it's internet fodder. Who knows what's really going on? But let's pray that we're past it, at least until July, right?
I hope so. I mean, I'm a SAG member. I'm waiting so I can vote, so I'm ready.
Okay, great.
you're a
so
SAG
they
member
haven't
too?
asked for a vote yet.
Not
Okay,
yet.
so
Not yet.
okay,
I mean, the
well,
board approved it, so I get all the emails from SAG.
yeah,
so.
and again, I mean, we're not going to have a podcast about the Reg strike, but
Yeah.
but again, it's only 2.5 years, so it's a good start. If it's not complete, maybe next
I think
round we
we're
can
ready.
fine tune it some more. Yeah,
We're ready to go. Everyone's
because
ready
we
to go
need
back
an
to work.
industry to go back to, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's very much a real concern. So, anyway,
I'm ready to work.
yeah, we're all ready to work. I'm chomping at the bit for sure.
Same.
So, so Josh, let's let me ask you, where are you from originally?
Originally.
Yeah, because I don't really know you at all. It's just nice to meet
we've seen
you.
we've seen you around the halls of, or I've seen you around the halls of ISS.
Exactly,
and,
pulling our hair out.
yeah.
As we
and
look over.
and I just want to pull some more people in real quick. So if you don't know who Josh Roth is, real quick, I just want to throw out some. He's the Star Wars show Prop Master guy.
That's right. That's why you're here.
He does the majority of the Prop Master show, which is the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and most recently Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, right.
Yeah. So I want everybody. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So
Yes.
if you're about to stop listening to this episode, you might want to buckle up.
Yeah, exactly. and again, I'm going to acquiesce to you on this one too, Mikey, because this is your wheelhouse. So
Right.
I'm going to let you take the lead on this for the most part. But I just want to get to know you a little bit too,
Sure.
Josh. You've worked for a lot of big people as well before you started mastering yourself. So
just real quick, I was born in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was adopted and grew up in a little bit in New York City, and then mostly Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
wow, nice.
So I went to college in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I got my first union card as a stagehand with Local 251 while I was still in college.
Okay,
So did a lot of rock concerts,
Nice.
did theater, did opera, did whatever was in town.
right.
But I always wanted to make movies.
Yeah.
So
Was this most stuff in high school or?
Well, in high school, we actually had an amazing theater program in high school. So that's where I really started getting into set build. I was one of the few people that actually built the sets and did the props in high school, and then also acted. So we
Nice.
did 4 shows a year in high school.
Oh, so
we
that's probably what sparked it then. That was
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But actually want to really talk about what sparked it. I was a kid. I remember still living in New York, watching PBS, the PBS telethons. We used to have, they call it the phone banks.
Yes.
And they had a making of Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
And I remember going to see Return of the Jedi. I mean, I was born in 1977, so the only one I saw in the theaters was Jedi.
Well, that's amazing.
So I remember watching that as a kid.
Right.
And then watching Mark Hamill talk about and watching the Creature Shop pack up these crates, and they were going to Elstree. They're all so excited. And then they were playing with little action figures, doing just figuring out how do they make this show, building Jabba's sail barge. They showed all the people inside of Jabba, how many puppeteers it took. And I was like, this is so cool. I want to do that.
And that's incredible to me. I mean, that was like your spark, and now here you are.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I feel very fortunate. I was able to, I think the fact that I'm able to work now in the universe that I wanted to as a little kid is amazing.
Yeah.
So I feel very fortunate about that.
Yeah, for that to be your
Right.
first spark, and then now it's just okay, you get to
Yeah.
work with a lot of the people that actually helped create that for you.
Yeah, that's
right?
like a kid looking at the lunar landing and saying, I want to be an astronaut. And then
Yeah.
he is. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
So
no, it's pretty cool.
congratulations.
No, thank you. I mean, so basically I did a lot of theater in high school, and then I was a theater major in college, and also a film major.
And what school did you go
I went to UW-Madison,
Okay.
and then I moved to New York City, and I went to an amazing Jewish summer camp in Wisconsin, and one of my friends was a DGA trainee, so
Okay.
I moved to New York City right after college,
Nice.
and I said, I want to do movies. You know, I had a job in college. In addition to the stagehand, I worked for the PBS TV station. So it was WHA TV. So I learned a little bit about lighting. I was working hanging lights,
Sure.
So grip and electric stuff.
Yeah.
I was doing whatever I could do.
Yeah,
because there wasn't much in Wisconsin for filmmaking.
Best education ever. Right?
So when I moved to New York, my friend who was a DGA trainee, she was dating a dolly grip. And she said, hey, call this guy Keith. He'll get you some days.
Nice.
So I started working for Local 52 as a grip. Because that's where I was just like, how do I break in? How do I figure this out?
So you got in the union?
I did not.
Oh.
Local 52's is a great union. It's very hard to get in if you don't have a family member.
Correct.
Yeah. And I did not. I mean, my family, my dad's a social worker. My mom was a teacher.
Right. So how did you work?
I took the test 3 times. I didn't get it. And then I had a choice in my life where I was also doing lighting and rock concerts in New York City.
Right.
And so I was working for a company called C Factor.
Okay.
And they said, we're going to send you on tour with this band called Deep Purple.
Some small band.
Yeah. Or I got called to come out here and produce a project for a friend of mine who had just written a script, and he had some money. He raised some money. And his name is Colin Trevorrow. So I came out here, and he said, Colin and my good friend Dan Klein, they're like, can you produce this short project for us? So I either move to L.A. or I go on tour with Deep Purple.
Wow.
So I packed up my stuff and I said, I'm going to come. I'll just try LA. I was very anti-California growing up because my parents are from Brooklyn. And so my grandma lived in Queens, and I was like, New York, East Coast, like that's where I belong. I love hip hop. It's like that's my scene, that's my vibe. And I just was like, I don't need California.
Oh.
But I came here, and it was 4 months. I'll do this thing. So I do the project. I'm living on unemployment from New York, trying to figure out how we had $150,000 to make this TV show.
Right.
This fake TV pilot.
Yeah,
sorry, independent TV pilot.
What year are we talking about now?
2004.
Deep Purple was still...
Yeah, it was a little small tour. It wasn't a big tour.
Okay.
It wasn't like
Your primary experience at this time was still mostly just gripping? Like gripping was your main...
Well, I was a prop master in college, and my dad was my dad was big into antiques. So I've always been shopping. I've always been looking at stuff. I've always been into objects and items.
Nice.
But yes, it was all Local 52 as a grip.
Right.
My last movie in New York was House of D with Robin Williams, directed by David Duchovny, and I was the dolly grip. And then I moved out here to do this project. So I was producing this project, and I just kind of fell in love with California. I moved to Venice Beach. I love Venice Beach. I've been in the West Side my whole time here.
So you moved. The first place you lived in Los Angeles was Venice Beach?
Yeah, I lived a block from the ocean.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I lived on Paloma. I lived in this little apartment on Paloma.
Nice.
So when I was living in New York, I had the unfortunate experience of being in New York for 9/11. But because of that, nobody wanted to live in Battery Park. Everyone was freaked out to live downtown. Yeah. And I got this loft in Chinatown for $1 a square foot. So me and 3 buddies, we built up this big loft. And one of my friends, he was a trapeze artist. We had 16-foot ceilings. We put a trapeze in.
Dope.
So he's like, his cousin comes to visit because cousin was he's like, my cousin's in the film industry in LA. He's coming to visit. You should meet him. He's going to stay with us. I said, okay. So I come home. I'd just been working in the theater. I had my Carhartts. I had my Gerber. All my tools on. I come home. I meet my buddy. He's a good friend of mine now. His name's David Vineski. He's a set dresser and a shopper. And we just got along. And he said, if you ever come out to LA, give me a call.
Nice.
So I came out to LA. I did this project.
Right.
Totally ran out of money. And then I'm like, well, I better call David. What can I? He's like, well, have you ever picked up a couch before? I said, sure. He goes, okay, well, we got you on. So he got me on a commercial. I started doing commercials. So that's how I got into the union. Actually, was doing days as a commercial as a set dresser out here.
Right.
And then I was working with John Bush, who's the lead man, and then Jeffrey Beecroft was our production designer. And Jeffrey Beecroft did a movie called 12 Monkeys with Doug Harlocker. Right. So he would hire Doug as his prop master, as his property master.
Sure. So
I started meeting Doug, and I met Scott, back in the day, and we got along. And I remember we were doing this commercial at Sony's for Hollywood Square. It's Victoria's Secret. So Beecroft built this Hollywood Square. And there's no props. There's no props in a Victoria's Secret commercial. I think Jeff just loved Doug, So like Doug's there with a basketball. There's nothing to do.
Right.
And so we just started chatting. We got along. And he said, hey, next week I'm doing reshoots on Spider-Man 3. Are you available?
Brilliant.
So I said, sure. Wow. So then we hung out. We got along really well. I think I had a taxi hanging upside down in a fake cinder block that Kirsten Dunst is like in a taxi. It's hanging upside down. She got this fake cinder block, and Doug and I have a Fernie pad. And so like she's throwing this fake cinder block, and we were trying to catch it with the turning pad, and and of course she hits me in the face, and we were all laughing. We're laughing. We just had a good time, and
right.
And then Doug's like, "Hey, I got this movie coming up. It's called Indiana Jones 4. Would you be available?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to be available."
Nice.
Would you still have taken that job knowing how that turned out?
I mean, yes, of course.
Yeah,
right. Come on,
here's the thing. It's
like,
like,
good God.
It's like, is that the best Indiana Jones movie ever? No, but was I able to be on set with George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Harrison Ford with a whip? I mean, it's like it's like the kids,
on an Indiana Jones
kid's
movie
dream come true. So it's like that was fantastic.
I love your trajectory of your career, by the way. I want to.
So then Doug and I got along very well, and I learned I spent almost 6 years learning from him.
Yeah.
So Scott moved back to New York City, and then I became his assistant.
Wow.
So then from there, I just learned so much, and we did so many great movies together. We did Alice in Wonderland, we did Oblivion. We did reshoots on Edge of Darkness. We did Men in Black 3.
So your entry to, I mean, the prop world, I guess mine was very different, and I think a lot of people's was very different. You seem to have just been thrown into the deep end to these like giant blockbuster movies almost immediately. How is it like kind of just learning those? Like, is it more overwhelming and to try to figure that stuff out and like kind of go forward? Like, because I feel like I don't know how to word it correctly. I feel like the margin for error is much less on that type of show.
Yes, I would say that's true. But even my first movie in New York was called Bad Company, and that was with Anthony Hopkins and Chris Rock as a grip. I mean, that was my first job ever in the industry. So I have been fortunate enough that you are correct. I have pretty much been able to start working at a higher level, I don't say higher, at a bigger budget level.
Right.
Yeah,
to work
blockbuster
at a bigger
movies,
budget level.
Sure.
So, yes, but I've always, I feel like I'm kind of a cucumber guy. It's like, I'm not gonna just take it one step at a time.
Yeah, and there's more support on a bigger film.
There's a lot more
as
support.
well, because when we do these small budget movies, it's like you and you're doing everything. I mean, or like on a commercial as well. Where you're hired, you're the art department. You're not just doing props. You're doing props. You're doing sets. I've painted
doing
before.
Effects,
everything.
You're doing the smoke machine.
Yeah,
you gotta paint
exactly.
This thing.
So
And commercials are rough.
Yeah,
commercials are
super
rough.
No, they are rough. I think I'll just say is like, I mean, I've been in the industry, 13 years, and I'll go out and help out Brad Elliott for a few days on like some of those shows or stuff like that. And I still, I'm so overwhelmed those first few days on set, you know what I mean? It hits differently, I think.
right.
Yeah, I mean, there is, I guess, with these larger movies, I want to say, with a bigger budget film, there is more staff. So in terms of in terms of pressure, there is definitely pressure, but we also have more prep time. I've always felt like, I mean, Doug has an amazing aesthetic. I feel like my aesthetic is pretty good as well. And it's like, and I used to shop. We did a lot of the shopping for him. And
that's nice.
And that's fun. Like, I love that. I love researching.
Right.
Getting into
that's the best.
especially the futuristic stuff, or or doing a period thing, or like, what is this? Or like when we did Alice in Wonderland, and just finding all the little different drink me bottles, and I mean, it's just so much fun.
Right.
So and you have time. So in terms of yes, the margin of it, you have to operate at a very high level.
Oh, totally.
But they give you the tools. At least I felt like they gave you
and
the
you're
tools
also working with people who are working at a really high level already. I mean, how many times have you been on a low budget film, or indie film, or wherever, where it's just such a shit show because of everybody? People aren't great at their job, and you have to cover a lot of bases or whatever.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the biggest reason I'm kind of envious of that, because you kind of were thrown in and you got to learn immediately from the best of the best on the best.
Right.
Things. It's like where, I mean, do you still feel like you still had a lot of opportunity on shows to just kind of figure things out yourself?
I'm still figuring things out.
Oh yeah,
I still am.
That's the best way to put it.
I guess it's, I'm one of the best things about what I'm currently doing is we have our own shop. I have 15 employees, and on Ahsoka we made every single prop in house.
Nice.
So ISS they machined a couple parts for us. We sent some parts out to get CNC'd. But everything else was made in-house. So I'm learning every day. I'm learning how do these laser cutters work. Like I still, I'm not a machinist, but I'm trying to see how do these actually work, with the tooling. There's so much to learn every day.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I love that. I love that about the job, 3D printing and the 3D modeling and there's so much. It's so
yeah,
cool.
with technology that's constantly changing and trying to making things that don't exist, which is pretty much everything you have to make almost.
I mean, I'm very fortunate to have an amazing team. Like people are, we have one of our prop makers made his own chip. Lee Trujillo made his own chip for the lightsabers.
Nice.
Right.
Because we had to shrink stuff down.
Right.
Between, so it's like some of these guys are absolute geniuses. I can't do.
Where's your shop?
So we shoot in Manhattan Beach.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been there for 5 seasons now, and it's grown progressively. Like first season, we actually shut the shop down halfway through because I had a prop maker who said he could do stuff, and unfortunately he couldn't.
Right.
He couldn't do what he said he could do.
Yeah.
And that was a huge bummer.
Yeah.
And also season 1 was tough. Season 1 was really tough, Amando, because we didn't even know if we were going to make it. Right. So we shut the shop down, and then everything went to either Lonnie or Lewis.
Right.
Well, Mandalorian, I think, was I don't know if we're jumping too far. I mean, I guess we
no.
way. Yeah. But Mandalorian, I think, in its own right, because that's a lot of risk right there. It's like
huge risk.
Yeah, doing one of the first ever Star Wars outside of the animated series, of course, it's different. It's way, 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 way different. So you don't know how the fans are going to react. You don't know if what you're making is going to be well received. So I feel like and that fan base, one of the biggest fan bases in the world, you have to set a certain precedent. So everything has to be perfect. How is that pressure going in as a prop master? But you're also a fan, which I think is the best person that could end up going in and doing something like that, right?
So I remember, actually, I wasn't even the first prop master hired on that job.
Oh, okay.
So there was another prop master hired, and then that prop master had a conflict because he got hired for 2 different movies. And so I remember I was walking in the halls of ISS, and I'm talking to Greg, and I'm like, "That's so crazy. How did he get both movies? One's in Australia, one's here." He's like, "You should come meet him. He's in Lewis's office right now." So I go say hi, and he's like, "I should get your number." And a week later, he wasn't on Mandalorian anymore. He was going to Australia. Wow. And then I got a call. So I had to actually go in though still and meet JF and Jon Favreau and kind of pitched to him. So I hired an illustrator, Paul Azimo, and I went to ISS and we looked at all these crazy old World War II guns. So we spent a week just drawing over because I wanted to use the same methodology they used for the original movies.
Right.
So we found weird, unique guns that weren't typical.
Sure.
And then we drew over, and then I did this big presentation. So they were still finishing Lion King. So John had his office down in Playa, and I pitched, basically I said, this is my vision for what I want to do for the show.
Who did you talk to get the references for what they did do in the original movies? Where'd you get all that information?
Some of it, I have a lot of books. Because I'm a fan, I have a fair amount of books that talk about it. There's also great websites. There's the RPF. There's parts of Star Wars. Yep. So I use those a lot because we're not the first people to like Star Wars. Right?
Oh, yeah.
There's so much material out there. It's like, why not take advantage of it? There's so many, and, people have more time. If you have 100 people looking for one thing as opposed to one person, it's going to happen faster. And it's been happening for years. So that I definitely, and I shout out to those references all the time because they're great. And so they help me. And then, Carl, I worked with Carl and he totally hooked me up, and Joe, and they found some really cool weapons, and then we drew on top of them. And so I remember putting this stuff up and I'm like, is JF gonna like it?
Yeah.
I'm like, because yes, even though I'm a fan, there's still pressure. I want to make sure,
of course,
he's happy. I think it looks cool, but is he gonna like it?
Yeah, of course.
And he came in the room, looked around, and he just gave me a big hug, and he's like, "I'm so happy you're here."
Oh, wow. Nice.
Really?
And then it's been 5 years now, so it's pretty awesome. He's just a mensch. He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
And him and Dave Filoni are the best team you'd ever want to work for.
Nice. That makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. And it's important, like you said, it's your vision that you walk in the door with, but if that vision isn't their vision, it's better you turn around and walk out the door anyway. Yeah. Right? So that's what makes it beautiful for you, is that you guys are already on the same page. You have the same vision. So that's great. And I love that.
And we also have there's there's 2 people at Lucasfilm with the title is Executive Creative Director. So one of them is Dave Filoni, and the other one is Doug Chiang. And Doug Chiang, and I don't know, I'm sure you know the name Doug Chiang, but he's been there since the prequels, and he is just the most talented, one of the most talented guys I've ever been able to work with, and the nicest guy. And he did, so when doing research, I've gone up to the archives maybe 5 or 6 times at the ranch and looking at original, Ralph McQuarrie paintings. You have to wear white gloves. But the original paintings. Doug Chiang also has original paintings from the prequels that are just as stunning and beautiful. Wow. So working with him as well, just to make sure the aesthetic and the design all fits, because it all has to match.
Yeah.
And so actually the biggest thing for me season 1 was the budget, because I made a budget, and my budget was, I think it was, I said at one point, so the first episode, all, because you're establishing a series, it's all brand new characters,
Right.
all brand new weapons,
Yep.
all this stuff. And I think the budget for the first episode was like $620.
Wow.
And they're like, "That's your budget for the whole season." And I just laughed at them. I said, "You're fucking kidding me." And I'm just like, and so I'm like, there's certain things. I'm not allowed to change what an E11 looks like.
Right.
Like there's certain things that I have to follow certain rules
Yes.
within the Star Wars universe.
Yes.
And they're like, "We're not paying for that." I'm like, "You have to pay for this." It's like it's like I can't change that. I'm not allowed to change that.
Yeah.
We've run into that a lot on this show,
yeah,
where
yeah.
we talk to some of the biggest Prop Masters from the biggest shows, and continually it's like it doesn't matter, like the biggest budgeted show in the world, like there's that fight is always there. It seems.
Well, season 1, I don't know if we were there. I mean, it was a lot of money, but also the volume. Like we did a camera test. Nobody even knew if the volume was going to work.
No, the volume. Were you guys the first show to do a volume?
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, for all of you listening at home that don't know what a volume is is basically a curved, humongous LED screen that just shows the set in the back, the sets in the background. They're all digital background sets with some set pieces, right? That are
but there's actually 3D models. They're not just, so it's not even just like like at first I thought, it's like a translate.
Right.
It's not. It's an actual 3D model. What they do is it's called a frustrum. They put this device on the camera. So when the camera moves throughout the space, the actual model changes and the lighting changes.
Nice.
And what they do is, we have a very talented set decorator who's also been there since season 1. Her name is Amanda Serino. And she finds certain objects. So like you said, there are set pieces. Like let's say you have a hallway.
Right.
And let's say there's 15 doors on camera. There may be 3 doors in real life, and the other 12, is that my math? Yeah, I think the other 12 are in the volume, right?
Right.
So what they have to do is build the doors beforehand, do photogrammetry, scan them, do full 3D models so that it matches exactly in the volume.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's the thing that people don't understand. There's so much work that has to happen before you shoot.
Right.
So we actually have she has a very lengthy prep period. I have a very lengthy prep period.
Right. Like, what was your prep period?
I get 16 weeks.
16 weeks, right. So let's get back to 620. How did you work that out?
We just kept going. I mean, I'm like, look, you just gotta. I just said we got to start, because one of these things is like, if you start, like, are they really going to say no?
Right.
And then the thing that killed me on it. So season 1, they add this flamethrower trooper, like incinerator trooper. Mm-hmm. This is back before COVID, so we used to actually have production meetings sitting around a table. You have like all the department heads, and John and Dave are like, we were so excited we got this new character. We got an incinerator trooper. I'm like, awesome, this is so great. They just added something. So I go to the UPM and I said, hey, they just added this character, so I got to make this new flamethrower. How much money do I have for that? He goes, oh, you got to figure that out. I said, it doesn't work like that.
No,
it doesn't. It's like, if they add something, you have to give me more money.
Right.
And he's just like, So then I went to basically Jon Favreau's producers, and I said, hey, this isn't working. So then the producer got yelled at me, but guess what? I got my money.
Yeah.
You have to, it's like,
well, that's just it.
That's the game. And I don't like that
dude,
game. I don't like it.
No, I know. And I just went through that. I'm not going to name names, and I'm not going to name the film, but I just was on a big film where we were discussing about labor. It wasn't even the budget, the prop budget, but just the labor for this thing that was both period and historic. Mm-hmm. So it was matching the period, but also matching things that happened in actual history. Okay. And their numbers were completely off. And they admitted that the numbers that they got from the studio were not great. But it's like, but then they didn't want to negotiate in any other way. They were, no, this is what you have to do it for. And it was just such an exercise of frustration for me, where it's like, and just like you said, I know that at the end of the day, what they agreed to and what the actual budget's going to be at the end of is going to be different. And it's kind of a game you have to play with them. But for me, it was about the attitude that was coming at me about it that made me pull out of the project. Because it's like, I don't want to do this for 7 months where I'm going to have to fight with somebody and whose final thoughts about matching things historic was, oh, well, you just need to get close. I'm like, I don't do close.
No, if we're going to do it, and if I'm going to do it, like we're the same thing. I want to do it right.
Right.
And so I'm fortunate that the person that was there season 1 left after that season, and it's gotten a lot better. And also they saw the quality of what we're able to create for them, and they were happy.
I was going to say, do you think that's something that's just it's dependent on the show, or it's dependent on the UPM, like who is handling that distribution? Like,
100%.
is it always going to be that, or is there any show factor that's going to come into play for that?
Well, I think that the UPM makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
massive difference, definitely.
Who that person is, because there are UPMs who like all they care about is the budget, and that's what their Bible is. Okay, and then there are UPMs who understand that they're making art. Okay, and that the best UPM marries the two together. And you could decide and figure out what's most important, what's not, and work with your creators. Again, this UPM who I'm talking about had no respect for anybody.
Yep.
Okay, clearly not what I did. At one point, he basically said to me, listen, I don't really care what you think the budget should be. I'm telling you what it is, and you have to prove to me that you could do it for that. I'm like, okay, well,
then I can't.
Yeah, that's exactly what I ended up saying. But, and to me, it felt like, and often in these cases, it feels like there's this disconnect between the creative side and the money people. The UPM is the money person. And so, and like you say, at the end of the day, what you have to do is you have to touch that creative stone.
Yeah.
And say, well, and again, for him to say, well, you have to figure it out. It's like, well, me figuring it out is going to the creative people and saying, do you want this thing? Yeah. And they're saying, yes, of course they do. Then go tell them that, we have to come up with the money for it.
I guess I think we're in a similar situation now where it's at this point of my career, we almost interview them more than they interview us.
There you go.
Because just like you said, I don't want to spend 7 months fighting with this person.
Nope.
I don't want to either. I don't want to do a project.
Yeah.
Because at some point Star Wars is going to end. I get it. I'm supposed to theoretically start in January.
Right.
I'm supposed to start season 4 of Mando. We're hope everything looking good for that. We'll see. Obviously I don't count on anything until it actually happens.
Right. Yeah, especially with London kind of coming in and taking a lot of the Star Wars stuff.
It's going to be here for sure. It's just the date.
Nice.
It's just that, I don't know if it's been a rough year.
Yes,
so I'm loving January. Please, but it's sorry, tap the table.
You're good.
It's reverberating through the industry.
Yeah.
But that's after. Yeah, it's going to end at some point, and so it's like at the next one, like you want to find like what is something that I actually, because I am going to put my heart and soul into something. It's
exactly.
Like, what am I going to want to spend a year doing, 11 months doing?
That's exactly right. And again, it's nice when you get to that level in your career where you can pick and choose stuff. Because again, I am not unconscious of the fact that a lot of people can't pick and choose projects. They get a project, and you just it's part of the school of hard knocks, I guess, is having to deal with situations like that where you just have to like make it work. To build your career or whatever. But it sure is nice.
And that's important too. That is important.
100%. Because again, that's how you learn. That's how you learn how to deal with UPMs who are unreasonable and, in situations and figure out, oh, okay, well, they said that this was going to happen, but at the end of the day, it really happened anyway. I understand that when they're green lighting a project, they have to hit all their numbers. Okay, once the train leaves the station, nobody's going to turn it around, so all of a sudden they find more money. And so there's a little bit of game that has to be played with that. But again, for me, it's about who the people are that you're working with. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, if you feel like they're on your side and they respect what you do, then you can make anything work, really.
I've been on a show for a couple of years with the UPM and line producer that trusts me, and it's very easy to work with, doesn't question me, and does a lot of things. But I think I'm also one of the people that you were just mentioning. Like, I don't really always get to choose my projects. And I kind of, as comfortable as I am, I do want to step out because I feel like it's going to polish me up for when I do better negotiating. Because it's not a battle right now.
Right.
Be careful what you wish for, though, I guess.
I do hope, I hope that because of what's happened with the past year and everybody not working, I still hope people don't take it. I mean, I know I feel like people are going to try to take advantage.
Yes.
And I think it's really important that we don't let ourselves be taken advantage of.
100%. You're absolutely right. Because again, not to get back into strike territory, but when our contracts are up in July, there's not going to be a big appetite for striking. So
I don't know if I have the financial means.
Well, exactly. 100%.
Honestly,
so we kind of have to we kind of start. Wait, what am I trying to say? We kind of have to start. That's the word.
Yeah.
Negotiating for ourselves, and and standing up for ourselves, and together, collaboratively.
Started in the PMG. We're starting to roll that stuff out. So
exactly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, let's talk more Star Wars.
Let's do it.
But of course.
So when you jumped on to Mandalorian, obviously this was a new thing, and then when the season ended, did you know that you guys were going to come back before the season ended?
Yes, we knew we were coming back.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I jumped. I took my assistant at the time, Yang, and we went and did reshoots in Atlanta on a movie called Chaos Walking. And I really was just curious. After doing a year on Star Wars, I was like, oh, Daisy Ridley. I want to see what she's like. So it was Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland and Doug Liman. So I just wanted to check it out. So it was like 6 weeks in Atlanta. But other than that, we knew we were coming back. So
did you know about any of the other spin-offs that happened?
They had
before?
talked about it. I mean, and then recently, I mean, there was like a 7 project timeline. They've talked to me and other people about it. So we are close to the end of that.
Right.
But they did announce this year at Celebration, so I was fortunate enough. So one of the things I've negotiated, I guess let me bring this back to you. So working for Doug, I learned a lot. And Doug is a big motorcycle guy, and Doug's always like, look, take on as much as you can, because that's going to help you out in the long run. So we built the motorcycle for Tom Cruise on Oblivion. We built the motorcycles on Men in Black. On Oblivion, we built these huge drones, but these massive drone props.
Right.
And because of that, I got sent to South by Southwest with a drone for a week.
Nice.
To do basically nothing. To turn it on, hang out and have some drinks. It was great.
To take a lot of this stuff on though, because I know there's I feel like this is one of those things in those meetings that you sit, that there's multiple different departments that could take it on. Is it just you raising your hand first? Is that kind of how? Sort of.
So for season 1 of Mando, because it was so new, and they had some assets coming over from London, but they were kind of they were trying to figure it out. They the budget, they didn't have enough money. There's no transportation department. There's picture cars, right? There's speeder bikes. Well, who's building that? So I said, I'll build it. Droids. Right. Droids are not a prop at all.
Right.
But I said, I love droids.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll take the droids.
Good for you.
So we took the droids, and we worked with Legacy.
Right.
But Legacy had their hands full with Grogu. And that's a huge character puppet. And I mean, Legacy, I get along with those guys very well. I remember meeting Stan Winston on Indiana Jones 4, and I love creature effects. I've always loved that stuff. But they're great. I mean, just amazing guys, great puppeteers, So they did that, and then we would build the droids. HPR built the first IG-11 that's in the show, and then we had the Legacy puppeteer it.
Right.
But because of that, sorry, where was I going with this?
Does Legacy? I was say,
I know where you're going.
I think I know where you're going too, because you started to pick up the droids. What was Legacy's reaction to that? Because historically, they probably have taken care of everything for that, right?
They couldn't. They didn't. There wasn't enough money. So part of it was we were doing it cheaper, and so I guess what was the original question? Sorry.
The original question was about taking on more responsibility.
So I like taking on more responsibility. And what that actually allowed me to do, and this is part of the negotiation, improving yourself. Same way you once you get in a door, just keep it open.
Yeah.
So I mean, hopefully everyone if that door gets open, just I put my foot, keep it open. So we took over Droid season 1, and then I started driving R5. Mm-hmm. But I said, if I'm driving a character, I should be a puppeteer. And they wouldn't pay me as a puppeteer. Right. 1. But season 2, I said, hey, I knew we were coming back. I said, if we do this, I need to get puppeteer days.
There you go.
And they said, okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's the point. And that's the key right there. And I agree with Doug Harlecker on this as well. It's it's not about pushing, that's not my job. The more you take on, the more invaluable you become. Okay. And you become more of the creative team. So I'm a big proponent for that as well. And, and then again, you may have to make some concessions in the beginning, but then once you become indispensable to them, then all of a sudden you can ask for more and get more. And they want to give it to you.
My trailer and kit rental was knocked way back. I mean, I was almost 50% of what I normally make season 1.
Wow.
But then we worked it back up.
Right.
I mean, also because of the show, I'm now in SAG. I'm a SAG performer.
Nice.
Being a puppeteer, is that what got you into SAG?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So, basically driving droids, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
pretty good.
we've taken, and then on Ahsoka, we built Chopper in-house. So Jeff Jingle, who's a SAG performer, he built it. He works as a 44 prop maker as well. And then the two of us, we puppeteered on set. And
You puppeteered Chopper?
Yeah.
That's pretty freaking awesome.
You know
So
what I'm saying?
that's why I got sent to London. So, I mean, Lucasfilm has been great. They're helping as much as they can with me during the strike. So I got sent to London for 10 days during Celebration. I was supposed to have Chopper at Celebration here in Anaheim, of course. So that was the premiere of Chopper. The one time I got COVID, which was like such a bummer.
Jesus.
Oh, the celebration that was here 2 years ago?
Yeah, so
Oh,
it was like, oh my god, it was such a bummer because like we had just built him. He had his first day on set. We shot with him. We made this amazing experience down there called the Mandalorian experience, where we brought all these costumes and props and set it up in Anaheim, and it was awesome. And I'm like, this is so exciting. I'm talking to Disney. We're getting all this special thing. We're going to do this performance, and then I show up to set, and I'm like, I feel a little funny, but I think I'm okay. And then you have to do your nose swabs every morning, or and then they're like, I get the phone call, Josh, you got to leave set right away. I'm like, what happened? He goes, you've got COVID. I'm like, motherfucker, because I'm just like,
exactly.
So then like Filoni calls, he's like, and then he's like, oh my god, maybe that's also what helped get me to London. Great. I mean, so because I couldn't do it that first year, and then it sent me to London for 10 days this year, which was awesome. To be Chopper on stage. And that was also great just to, I got to see Ray one last time before he passed, which was cool. And it's just like, and that celebration is awesome. It's so much fun.
I went to the one in Anaheim. Did they have a Chopper understudy to puppeteer?
Ooh, so Jeff and I do it together.
Oh,
so,
gotcha.
So Jeff normally drives and I do the head. So the head has more movement than a normal astromech.
Yeah.
And then we have a third puppeteer that does the arms. So that's where Mikey Manziel will take over for us too.
Got it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. And taking on Chopper's pretty iconic to the animated series. It's essentially, I mean, probably just as famous as R2-D2 if you consider the animated series. So like as super fans, it's a huge appreciation for
that was probably one of my most favorite days ever. So at the end of season 2, we have Mark Hamill, and it's a secret shoot because no one's supposed to know Mark's there. Right. They had it called Plo Koon. And we had painted an astromech green and white, and we followed this other guy down the hallway. And it was like, oh, it's Plo Koon. They put dots in his face, like they're going to swap it out. Then we had a very small crew, like 15, 20 people. We had Mark Hamill come on set, and everyone else was doing something else. And then I get R2 shipped. So it was one of the R2s from the sequels. Right. So Porsche, and they basically sent it down to me. So I'm driving R2-D2 with Mark Hamill for the finale. And I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Right? I'm like, this is like, it's the best. So and then I guess what's also really fun, and it's fun to talk about, is, like you said, from animation, taking stuff from animation and making it live action. I'd never done that before. Yeah. So that's actually, I don't know if you ever, so that's super cool.
No, yeah, when your reference points too, because I feel like, I mean, you did have to help match and create new of some of the most iconic props in the world from the Star Wars series, but at least those references are real references. Building from animation, I feel like must be so difficult because, I mean, you have to make it not look animated in real life, but make it still cool and right.
Like the Darksaber season 1.
The Darksaber, right?
Ended up playing throughout all of the Mandalorian seasons. So the Darksaber in the animated show is very blocky, and the reason for that, it's cost. It's the modeling cost. So it's cheaper for them to make a model like that that's easier to render. Right. So then, and this is the fun part of our job. You have discussions with Doug Chang, and you have discussions with Dave and John, like, how do we translate this animated prop into a live action prop?
Exactly. What's the material?
And then we start playing with it, and then so I'm fortunate enough to have a full-time illustrator. So we had a full-time illustrator, and we're drawing, and then we also have 3D printers, and so that's also something Doug taught me a lot. You do as many prototypes, do as much stuff as you can, so people see what it is. Along the step of the way, because the last thing you want to do is have this drawing and then show them a final thing, and all of a sudden, like, that's not what that drawing.
Especially with all the costs going into it, because these are not cheap things.
But that's also that's so much fun to me. Like you do, like, one of the first things we do is you get a 2D illustration approved. Right. After the 2D illustration is approved, then we do scale. And so the cheapest way to do scale is I just take foam core and you spray them out. You just go to the copy machine, 10% larger, 50. You just start making a bunch of different sizes. You start putting your hand. You start playing. What do you think? And start feeling it.
Yeah.
Once they pick a scale, then we do a 3D print, so we actually know that this works.
Right.
Sometimes you tweak that. Then once you have that made, then you can start manufacturing.
Right.
But I mean, it's just fun. Like that's me, it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, that I love. We do product design.
Right.
But we do product design in like a week when normal people or normal companies have like years to
Right.
develop these things.
Yeah, exactly. And so, what's your process of like budgeting something like that from like an illustration all the way through the different model stages?
Well, because I've done it now for a little bit, I can kind of tell. But a lot of it, some of it's just man days. You know, I just know that like I know I need a week for the illustrator
Right.
to do this, and then I know I need now I know how you probably use a third of a tank of resin to do a nice. So we've been able to over the
Trial
5
and error.
seasons.
Yeah.
But I mean, definitely the first season. When I was budgeting, I was using prices as much as I could of what it would cost to go to a shop to do stuff, and that's
Right.
also changed. It's also different if we're doing stuff in house.
Right. Right.
So,
Absolutely.
but labor is probably labor is definitely way more than materials.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but if you have the right guy, like the right machinist, they can take a block of aluminum and turn it into the most beautiful lightsaber you've ever seen.
Wow. Amazing.
So,
Is that how most of your lightsabers are built? Just with a block of aluminum? That's your starting base? That's your
or a tube? You buy a tube and then you just start shaping.
yeah.
Or the base of a speed graphic.
But we on Ahsoka we built 12 unique styles of lightsabers, and then we did multiples of those. But they came out so gorgeous, and we were able to put them on display at San Diego Comic-Con. And what I loved was actually just kind of sitting back and watching people go into the booths, and they got these gorgeous little pedestals with lights, and they put little plaques, and
Yeah.
oh my god, it's so cool. Because at the end of the day, yes, I'm a fan too, but I want to see what other people like. I'm
Right.
making this for other people to be happy.
Yeah.
And to watch the fans come in and and then we had Chopper on display, and we had the T6, and we had the Loth Cat. It was just awesome. So
Yeah. And I mean, that's half the reason why we're here is just so you know, not San Diego Comic-Con, but LA Comic-Con by the time this drops will be next week. So Josh is going to be on a panel there.
Nice.
I just want to make sure we announce that. Josh is going to be there on a panel talking about Star Wars. I believe yours is Sunday at noon in room 308 AB. So he's going to be up there with Brad Elliott, who did Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then you'll be, John Bush?
John Bush.
John Bush is there, who helped make a lot of your props.
So he's an illustrator, foreman. He's also, he worked on Obi-Wan. He also worked on Ahsoka and Mando season 3. And I think it's Bethany who's Brad's assistant. This is
Correct.
the fourth person. So
Correct.
I haven't met Bethany yet, but it's
Yeah.
going to be a fun panel. I'm excited.
It's going to be an awesome panel. So they're going to be answering all props, and then you can come up and actually ask them questions yourself, and they'll answer it. So make sure you come check us out. But we're also going to have a booth for that, and I'm so excited for the exact same reason that you just said, is to see actual fans come up to the booth and and show some stuff. There's going to be a screen use R2D2 there also, so we'll be able to see. It's not going to be riding around or anything like that, but you'll be able to see it.
Nice.
Take a picture next to it if you want.
In real life.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're super pumped about that and everything like that. I do want to talk about droids a little bit more. We talked about Chopper and everything like that, but I don't think what a lot of people realize with, especially the TV shows, I think more than anything, is almost all of the droids from all those shows are almost all practical. Is that correct?
That's true. And one of the things that Dave and John, and we try to do is all the props too. Like, they want something there. And so they want to actually,
And not just an orange ball. Yeah.
No, and they want to have, and then VFX loves it when we have something there.
Sure.
We do full size maquettes sometimes for something that we know is going to be a VFX thing.
Mm-hmm.
We started this. People do it for other movies too.
Right,
But just
Pen
to
and Black.
have that reference, because when they're done with a shot, VFX will come in and they have their ball, and then they do, balls and charts and blah blah blah. But then if you
Right.
actually have the reference of what, like, let's say it's a little drone that's flying around, you have that
Right.
there. They love, and I love. I worked on Jurassic World. It's a great movie.
Right.
I remember seeing Jurassic before when Jurassic World was coming out. I saw Jurassic Park had just been re-released.
I see.
I went and saw it on the big screen.
Nice.
It was like the anniversary screen.
Sure.
Because there are real creatures in that. It holds up
Right.
amazingly. It still looks good today. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are building as much practical stuff as possible, whether it's something that has to extend, whether it's sabers, whether it's droid pieces, or actual droid puppets. Even if it can't do 100% of the action that they want, if we can do 70% of the action,
Right.
and then VFX enhances it.
Yes.
It looks so much better.
Absolutely.
It's better performance you'll get from the actors
Yes.
too, to be able to interact with something. Like try interacting with an orange ball and then
Yeah.
actually put something with a face like C-3PO or Huang in Ahsoka. Like I think that's all the difference, especially with a character that actually has so much personality.
I mean, I'm going to say the same thing. This is maybe controversial, but I think it's the same thing for blanks. I think blank firing weapons affect the performance way better.
Yes, 100%.
So anytime you can give an actor something to react to work with, and that's half of what we do is like our job is like, how do we help you tell your story? How do we help you get the best performance
Character
you can?
development, exactly.
So I love that. So yes, there are some droids that they say we don't want to build at all. Just like the pit droids, they said we're just not going to do it. They
Right.
just don't want to spend the money because they know that's so much movement that we'll never do. But we built a little BD droid, so it's like, I always try to build as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It only helps you in the long run, and it certainly helps the actors. A
Yeah,
lot.
it totally helps the actors.
Yeah, and in your case, VisFX for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate. We have, ILM is an amazing company. We've had the same VFX team pretty much since season 1. We've had a lot of the same crew department heads. And so it's the other thing. So this is interesting for me. I've done features mostly before this, so you do a feature, you meet, you may meet, here's my buddy Rafi, the gaffer. Like you're kind of in this little circuit. You meet him, you may see him a couple movies down the line.
Right.
But you're still like, you do a movie in Atlanta, then you're in Hawaii, then you're in New Orleans. You keep traveling. You don't always have the same group.
Right.
I'd never done television before.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've had the same group of people for 5 seasons.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty awesome.
It's amazing.
It's pretty cool because it's one of the best families I've ever
Yeah,
had.
well, that's the beauty of television for
Yeah.
sure, because you create a family and you create a vibe in a second language that it's amazing. From again, I did 8 seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine from season 1 to season 8. I mean, people get married, they have children.
Yep.
I mean,
People get divorced.
and they get divorced, and exactly.
No, but life happens, and like, how cool is it that you're there for your
Right.
friends?
Exactly.
Your family.
And again, in just the work environment, it's just second nature. Everybody knows the personalities, what you can do and you can't do. And it's a beautiful thing, until it ends. And then it's horrible. Then it is like losing a family member.
Yeah. But I mean, right now we still have season 4. So we take it one season at a time.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
But it's a great family. We really have, it's such a great group of people. And again, I think it starts at the top. I feel very fortunate to have, 2 showrunners that are just amazing.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Have you heard anything of Ahsoka season 2 also?
He shrugs.
That's what I figured I would get. But yeah, I'm hoping that a lot of that work does stay in LA specifically because
Yes.
I mean, I've gotten calls to come help you out a couple times, but unfortunately I've been prop
Right,
mastering things
right.
every single time because it's still like on my bucket list to at least do a day on something Star Wars.
Sure.
We had Chuck McSorley come down just because his son works for us. I love Bryce; he's great. And Chuck came down, and so we gave him the tour, and he saw the shop, and he saw the gold because we have 2 gold. I mean, nothing fits in my trailer. I shouldn't say it, but I mean, like, it's fortunate to have a trailer into, but I can't, I don't really use it much because, I mean, we have so much stuff now
Sure.
after 5 seasons. I've never had this much stuff
Yeah,
before.
I know.
So we have Gold Room A, we have Gold Room
Yep.
B, then we have manufacturing, and then,
Yep.
my trailer is just like my trailer is basically my regular kit,
Right.
which we can't, there's no cop belts in Star Wars.
Yeah,
There's no self,
I know. But you need a home base
yeah, but I have a home base,
Yeah.
so we use it for that.
in your
But
shop.
I have so much stuff now, and so it's like he got the full tour. He's like, "This is and
Yeah.
and we've been very fortunate because we have, I think, done what they've wanted. We've made some amazing stuff, and every year we get to grow a little bit.
Yeah.
And so now I feel really set up. So I feel like we have a fantastic infrastructure here in
Right.
Los Angeles. So
Well, and see, that's the thing too. I mean, and there's been a lot of talk about, if the strike goes on any longer, all this business is going to leave town and everything. But a lot of studios have invested a lot in Los Angeles and a lot of new studio space and all that. So, there's I think, there's a better than good chance that a lot of work's going to stay here.
I mean, Hollywood's always going to be Hollywood. I
Yeah.
don't think you can ever take the Hollywood out of Hollywood.
For sure.
You can try to save money by shooting more other places, which
Well, yeah.
will happen. But
And a lot of actors and directors and writers want to stay home too, so that's part of it.
I mean, I like staying home. I like staying in my own bed. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, there is, although I will say it's been 5 seasons now, and I know, like, so when they sent me to London, I'm like, oh, that's what traveling's like. I forgot.
Yeah.
I just did a commercial in Vegas. I went for 2 weeks.
What commercial was that?
It was for Hilton. So for the F1 with Lando Norris.
Oh, nice.
But it was just like, it is kind of fun sometimes to like go on location, get per diem, get the hotel room, and
it gets old fast.
Yeah,
because you're working.
I know.
You know, that's the thing.
Yeah. When you go over to like Disneyland to like Galaxy's Edge, is it like Galaxy's Edge? Is it underwhelming for you after being on all this?
So
stuff?
I'd never actually been to Disneyland.
Haven't
until this year.
Oh, until this year. Got it.
What I said to Lucasfilm, I said, "Hey, come on, guys, like hook a brother up." So finally, they got me 4 tickets, which was amazing. So I took my 2 daughters, and I took a friend of mine who's an AD because we need someone to wrangle us.
Right.
So Lena came, and we had a great time. So Galaxy's Edge, actually, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing, and that ride is so good.
How old are your daughters? How old are your daughters?
10 and 12.
Nice.
And so I did a commercial for Rise of Resistance 3 years ago, I think. And so we had Keith Ferris, who built the lightsabers for all their lightsabers over there. So we had Kylo Ren in the commercial. So he brought over the Kylo Ren saber, and that's actually where I started learning about all the technology they'd already. I mean, the same thing. If the information's there, if the research is there, why reinvent the wheel? Right. So he hooked me up with all the different components and all the way they did it, and we've now since improved. It was awesome, and we basically had a bunch of blasters and some lightsabers, and we had a commercial at Universal, and we had the little cart with the droid driving around, and so I actually got to do that ride finally this year for the first time, and it's amazing.
Wow.
It's so good.
It's Rise of the Resistance is probably the greatest ride I think I've ever been on.
Yeah.
I don't know any other ride that even comes. It's like 4 rides kind of in one.
It just kept going. I was like, it keeps going. It keeps going. It was like,
And plus, it's like they have actors, and it's like an experience, and they interrogate you. It's like a whole thing going through worlds to end
and
this thing.
All live action? I mean, is there VR elements to it?
No, not really. No, it's. I mean, you start off. I don't want to give too much away, but you start off on a ship, and then they're bringing you to like this galaxy thing, and then your ship kind of gets taken over by the Empire, and then they start trying to interrogate you. And then it ends on an actual like ride through, but there's not really any VR or anything additional to add to that. It's very, very much live.
Wow. It's all, and the animatronics are fantastic.
Wow.
So we have, over the 5 seasons, we've worked with Imagineering a little bit. We've talked to them. We show them stuff. They show us stuff. So that's also really neat to see how they do stuff for the theme parks.
I'll bet.
But it's it's like the animatronics are really good because so this is my first time at Disneyland, and I went like 2 months ago, and so I did the Pirates ride. You don't have to do Pirates,
Yeah,
of course.
So you do, but you look at those guys, and you're like, oh, that's cute,
right?
But then you on Rise of Resistance, you're like, oh, those guys are like they're real.
Yeah.
So the technology has just improved,
and I can imagine that they gotta have like a team of engineers that like work there full time because half the time props we build, that we're lucky if they stay together for the shoot, but for something that has to.
Well, they have a lot longer to build stuff too,
right?
So like yes, like we have to. Sometimes I'm just last for an hour,
right?
Just last for an hour, and then we'll get through it.
100%.
I mean, I do like when I can. So the way that we try to do it is we'll do one with all of our blasters, our new blasters, and our new sabers. We'll make at least one hero one out of metal. So that way there's an archive. There's almost like a paint master. There's something that Lucasfilm can always have forever.
Nice.
And then from that we do, let's say you have to make 20 blasters then we'll have, maybe 1 or 2 out of metal, and then we'll mold it, and then have a mold shop in house, and we'll cast the rest.
Nice.
So
do you know anything about like where the designs and stuff for the at Disneyland, the build your own lightsaber stuff came from?
I don't. I don't. So I know that one of the main things when we were building lightsabers, when we were building stuff for our show, is Filoni said, so Ahsoka shows up in season 2.
Right.
So, and that's Dave's baby. He loves. He created that character. I mean, So he was very specific about those sabers, and he goes, the ones at Galaxy Edge are trash. They're way too big. They're way too thick. They're just not accurate. They're not elegant.
Yeah,
and they have to be a certain way, I think, for kids to actually be able to build them and manipulate them. And they sell the ones in the
because you have to be able to put the kyber crystal and stuff in it and interchange them and do all that stuff. So
one of the cost savings things I was once told is, you can get all these pieces from Disneyland for free. I'm like, yeah, but they're wrong.
Yeah.
So it's that's. I don't know where the design came for that, but I don't for us. We had to be very specific, but I love that about Dave. It says he just has the vision, and how much fun is it to work with that vision, but that we went through a lot of iterations, a lot of revisions to make sure we got what he wanted with those sabers.
Yeah, and the history of a lightsaber. I mean, in the original movie, actually, even in the prequels, they never actually lit up on set. That's something that's newer, right?
That started in the sequels. So it started with the newer, the Daisy Ridley era,
right?
Yeah, the even in the last ones they were because they did the last three, the prequels were mostly Australia, traveled a little bit. They were metal blades.
They were metal blades,
like aluminum.
Oh, right. Okay,
gotcha. Yeah, like aluminum. So but they were actually fencing, and the blades would bend, and they would have to swap them out.
Wow.
I remember. So when I got to go to the archives my first time, they had one of the original sabers from A New Hope, and it had reflective tape on it. I was looking. They said, "Put your flash on and take a picture." And so my shoes also, and my New Balance, I wear those crazy, the dad New Balance shoes.
Sure, great set shoes. Yeah,
great set. They're fantastic set shoes.
Yeah.
But so you could see my sneakers were glowing, but then also the saber glows. It's a great picture. So it was right in front of the Death Star. It was me and my buddy Jeff from high school, and we're just like, it was great.
Yeah.
But so it's that started with the sequels. Now the issue with that is because there's actually lights now inside a polycarbonate tube. That tube, if it gets too long, and you have to fit all the electronics inside, because we actually do we remotely control the ignition, so it goes
right.
I mean, it's amazing. It's great, but sometimes they bend a little bit when they're fighting.
Right.
And Hayden is when we got to work with Hayden on Ahsoka, and he's physical. He's such a nice guy. But he's when him and Ro are going at it, they're going at it.
Yeah. Wow. Did they break a lot of blades?
Well, they didn't break blades, but what happened is for Filoni said they bend sometimes because they're just hitting them so hard. So that's a correction they do in post.
I see.
Got you. So they have to fix the bend in post, pretty much. Oh my god!
But we did have a full lightsaber tech. We had so many saber battles in Ahsoka. We just had one guy. He was actually part of fixtures, because we work closely with the electrical department to make sure that they're doing what they do what they have to do. And I mean, sometimes the solder would break, but the blades wouldn't break. But sometimes the actual connection for the for the lights inside would break.
So maybe you guys could confirm this. I saw this on an episode of Antique Roadshow. Some guy there was claiming that the original lightsaber for the original Star Wars was the base of a speed graphics camera.
That's true.
Yeah.
So in England, it was Roger Christian.
Mm-hmm.
He was the set decorator. So England, I think you just had Barry on here, right? Talking. So
yeah,
the hierarchy is different over there. So Roger Christian, as the set decorator, they often sometimes, at least they used to, they would almost be in charge of the prop master.
100%.
And so he had found this Graflex, and I mean, if you buy a Graflex, it's pretty much it's the saber.
Yeah.
There's minimal alterations done to it.
Yeah, amazing. That's
yeah.
So of course I had to buy a Graflex.
Yeah,
just for research.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was $600. But it's if you can find them, it's very cool.
I just saw one in an antique store in Agora Hills yesterday, and that made me think of it again. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah,
if you can get one cheap, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, but the other thing that happens now, so when I do this reference for parts of Star, people know, oh, this is the the fader from this one thing that we used on the carbonite.
Right.
Now you can't find them anymore, and the price has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
People know what they are.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate on Ahsoka. We had to remake and I love this prop. It's the Hoth scanner. So when Luke goes missing, and Han takes the scanner out, and he's looking, and I was like, this is it's one of my favorite props of all time. It's such a cool, but nobody knew what it was.
Right.
And then on the RPF, someone had figured out it was 2 soap dispensers. These kind of cool soap dispensers, and they, instead of being on the wall, they put them together this way.
Nice.
And then they knew what some of the other Greeblies were and stuff. And someone then had found a box of these vintage soap dispensers that I have 10 sets for sale.
Wow.
And we're able to nab one set. And between that and then going to the archives, and when I go to the archives, I take a caliper and I do measurements to make sure everything's as accurate for certain things.
Sure.
I try to make it as accurate as possible to the original prop.
Right,
Did you see? It wasn't. It was the one show that's not that you didn't. Andor. They leaned into because there was like this big fan prop humor. It's like I forget. I forget which movie of the originals it was, but like I think as like they're like going into the Death Star, you have that one. There's like one guy that's like running through, and you can tell a prop master just like, "Oh, this looks good enough." It's like an ice cream maker that's in the sun. Do you know that story?
Yeah, well, we did that season 1.
You did do that season 1.
Yeah, so it's Wilro Hood is the name of the character in Star Wars,
right?
And so it's definitely a vintage. It's in Bespin. So in Bespin,
right? Yes,
so
it's
Empire
in
Strikes Back, when everyone's like, "We're freaking out," so he runs through with this ice cream maker.
With the ice cream maker.
And at Celebration, they actually do something called the Run of Wilro Hood, and everybody dresses up in this outfit, and they all run around with their ice cream makers.
That's brilliant.
No, it's fans that like built it up, and like they make Lego character of it, and you can play as it in the video. Like you play the guy, like they lean so deep into this guy.
So Favreau loves this kind of stuff too, and that's why it's so much fun to work with these guys. So John had said, we need to, we want to make that like your Halliburton briefcase. We want to make that, like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
And so we took that season 1, and that was actually the challenge to figure out what is it? It's safe, and how does it open up?
Right.
Yeah.
And so we built it, and then we built it with these. At the time, we didn't have the actual capabilities to have them open on camera. So we do a lot of this. Actually, we do a lot of this on our show just because of time. We'll do a before and after.
Right.
So, for instance, with the Camtono case, you can do the codes, you can twist the top, and then you pause, and then you from the closed version, then you open it up, then you have the open version.
Cut to a shot of their face.
VFX does the takeover. So sometimes do the, they'll do that stuff.
Oh, okay, great.
But we don't always have the time or the money to do all the motorized. So and they love it. We just do an A and a B.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks so good, and it was awesome that the shows could just like, because that's like I think that's the prop things that fans like. That's for the fans that really. I mean, it's exciting.
Oh, I love doing it. Yeah, I love doing that kind of stuff, and that's totally like a little Easter egg but that was John's idea. That's Favreau's idea.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So they did let me pitch something, which was great. Let me pitch a couple of things. But one of the things so we had at the end of, I think it was at the end of season 2. So we see Boba Fett go and he kills Bib Fortuna.
Yeah,
right before his show, and I remember Bib Fortuna as a kid, and I'm like, God, he's got this really cool staff. That's gonna be so great. I love that. So I talked to. So we have, there's people that I can talk to at Lucasfilm saying, hey, can you get me reference pictures of all the staff? And they have these amazing archives. And so they started looking. They go, we don't have any pictures of him with his staff on set. I goes, no, I swear he had a staff. And it turns out I was thinking of the toy. Because I had the Kenner toy as a little kid. And the Kenner
they just
toy,
sold this toy. Like they never showed him on screen. It was just the toy was sold with this.
They just So the character was on camera.
Right.
The staff that I remembered so vividly in my head was just a toy.
They just added it.
Yeah, and then John's like, "That's a great idea. You got to make that." I said, "Okay, great." So we made the Kenner toy.
Wow.
Staff, and then just match the Kenner toy and scale it up to real life.
Right.
So like that's the kind of
brilliant.
We're having a lot of fun like that too, like kind of
that.
going like back and forth, So it's
that's great.
Yeah, it's fun. So, I mean, again, for me, it's such a rewarding job because I get to be so creative.
Isn't that what it's all about, really?
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
I will say I did my last job on the road. I did Venom, so I was in Atlanta, and I wanted to spend more time. My kids were getting older.
Right.
I didn't want them. They were traveling with me for a long time. Like my family came to Jurassic World. They did 4 months in Hawaii.
Wow.
Then they came for Jumanji. They did 4 months in Hawaii again. And Venom, they were getting older. They're like, they want to have friends.
Sure.
So they didn't travel. So I'm like, I got to get a job in town.
Yes.
So
well,
I'm like,
what a job.
Well, I'm like, I was nervous. I'm like, I don't want to, and no disrespect, but I didn't want I wanted something that would have a fabrication job, and I was worried that I wasn't going to find a fabrication job in town.
Right.
So I'm so fortunate that I actually found something that, because I do think that's something that I'm good at. I'm good at designing stuff and making sure that it's built right, and because it also, we joke, but it does have to. If it doesn't last the take, one is none, right? So if you build something, it could be the coolest thing in the world, but if it does, let's say the actor breaks at take one,
right.
you're fucked.
That's right. You are fucked.
So I mean, that's also something you it comes with learning. Like,
Yes.
make sure you have 6 of this, and make sure you have the soft rubber one, make sure you have the hard rubber one, and make
Yeah.
sure you have the one and so make sure you have enough.
That's always
I mean,
the
yeah.
challenge, right?
Yeah.
That and your budget, right?
Yeah.
Trying to,
But that's the nice thing about having the shop now, and having the shop
Yeah.
and being like, we have the mold. Look, just cast 2 more.
right. Yeah.
Because
100%.
at that point, it's not that much more money.
Yes.
Before we wrap up Star Wars stuff, I just want to talk about just to build off that piggybacks of droids again, Huyang specifically, because that was one that was super impressive to me. Did you have anything to do with the build of
I
him?
wish I could say I did. That was all Legacy. Legacy just knocked it out of the park with that.
Super out of the park.
But what's really cool is that they do, and I believe it's called Bunraku style puppetry. So what they do is they have my buddy Mike Manziel. He is in a gray suit, and he walks behind it. So he has rods, so they connect like his legs and his arms to Huyang. So he'll walk and do like this, and then Huyang's arms will move. It's like, I can't remember, like, there used to be this like Michael Jackson street performer that would have like 5 Michael Jacksons, and they'd all do.
Oh, right.
I remember seeing those videos.
Yeah,
so
no,
but it's like
exactly.
that. So they then digitally remove him, and then Huyang does all the walking, and then they have the head on remote control, and then the eyes. So you have like 4 puppeteers operating that guy. I mean, same with Grogu's 4 puppeteers. I mean, it's amazing.
Grogu's 4 puppeteers?
Yeah, you have one person does the body movements, one person does the ears, one person does the eyes, one person does the mouth, and it's a jazz band. I'm watching those, and I love those guys. But they're the 4 biggest puppeteers in the world. They're just big dudes, and so like you can't hide them anywhere.
Right.
So it's like Grogu has to hide under a table, and my poor buddy's like trying to hide under the table. It's just like it's
Wow.
fun stuff. But no, I wish I could say Huyang, but no, that was we did Chopper, and we did all the R5 stuff for season 3. I was really proud of that. What's fun with that is we built 5 different R5s, all for different functions. So we had one that was a 323 droid. We had one that had the scomp link. We had one that had the rocket boosters. We had one that was just a stunt droid that we could drop from different things. So that's also where, all this stuff's a la carte. All this stuff is built even with certain props. You can only fit so much servos into something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, your gold room after hours with all those droids probably must be pretty creepy in the dark, huh?
It's a lot of fun. We put music on, and get the lights going.
I bet.
My droids love tequila. I'll say that. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Do you have anything else that you're like?
Yeah.
You want to do?
Yeah, that's my
Like
question.
after this, or did you feel like you've
Since
met the
everything
gamut?
you dream of comes true. What do you?
Well, it's funny. I was telling my friend this the other day. I'm kind of like, I don't know what I'd want to do. I mean, this has actually been one of the best, if not, no, this is the best, prop master job I've ever had.
Right.
And it's great, and I want to continue it. I'm crossing my fingers. We'll see what happens. They have announced there's a Dave Filoni movie that's going to culminate the Mandoverse, which is what I started season 1. So we'll see what happens. I do think that's not going to be shot here. I think it's going to be shot in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm crossing my fingers.
Right.
But I think it'd be really fun to just do something totally different after this.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and I love science fiction. I love science fiction. I love it, but it'd be really fun to do like a fun period movie or
Right.
just something like I don't know, something totally different.
Yeah.
Is there a director that you'd like to work with?
Let's see. So I've worked. I want to work with my friend again. My friend's actually got some really cool projects. So my friend Colin Trevorrow, who did Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping we get to do a couple more projects together. I've known him since college.
Wow.
Then we have. I've worked with. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Oh, I know who I've never worked with Guillermo del Toro.
Yes.
I would love to work
That's
with
my
Guillermo.
guy.
So he's
Yeah.
just like such a great.
Right.
I love his stuff.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to work with some amazing people, and have developed some great relationships with some of them. But yeah,
bet.
Guillermo, I'd love to work with for sure.
For real.
And then I'm trying to think who else. There's new people coming up.
Sure.
I'd love to see some. I haven't seen as many new directors out there.
Right.
So
Yeah. You gained.
You never know.
As far as like for Jon Favreau and Filoni and stuff like that, you've done something that a lot of prop masters haven't been able to do. Is you've gained the respect to be able to get your own title card as a prop master. I think that in itself is
That was pretty cool. So they didn't tell me that. That was a total surprise.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, I didn't know at
Wow,
all. And so, because I'd emailed them, after getting into the PMG, and said, hey, I just want to make sure we put the PMG after my name. And they said, oh, the title's already finished, but we'll see what we can do. I said, what do you mean the title? It's just a thing. So I was like,
Yeah.
And then they had a screening over at El Capitan. And so I went to the screening, it's like that premiere-ish,
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, holy fuck, that's my name's on the big screen. So I was stoked.
Did they get the PMG in?
Not on the first 3 episodes.
Okay.
I think it happens eventually,
Wow.
just because they'd already finished.
Sure.
I think it starts 3 or 4. But on Ahsoka, the PMG was in the whole time.
Wow, that's
So then
brilliant.
they kept it on Ahsoka. So, I mean, it's, I guess that means I'm doing a good job.
It definitely does. It
So-
definitely does. If they take the time to do that, that is
Because that was not something I
key.
asked for. It's not, I'm still trying to get a nice parking spot. So.
right, exactly.
It is-
No, I'll take
Or to have
that
right-
over the parking spot.
No, it's
so.
a huge sign of respect and
100%.
appreciation, I think. And I think that, like, I'm hoping that even helps, like, if other people see, the other producers and stuff see
Yes.
that sets a precedent. It's just like,
Yeah.
I'd
that
love
is
to.
also a show. It's like what you were saying either. It's like you make and design and
Yep.
customize almost every single prop that you see on screen. And that amount of work, I think, like, it deserves its own title.
I just
you know?
saw that in The Killer, James Eddy. His credit was first
Nice.
No way.
in the Below the Line. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one. So, and I don't, we did a photo shoot for a nice magazine, and they, we had all. So it was a photo shoot with Ahsoka, Mando, Andor, and Obi-Wan. So we did so I'm prop mastering this photo shoot, and then they give credits to the costume designer, the hair and makeup. I'm like, what's up, bro? It's like on the cover of the magazine, it's
Right.
lightsabers.
Yes.
You're not going to give me a credit.
Yeah.
So that's why it is something that I think is important. I think it's it's
Yep.
one of the things which I do love about this organization. I think it's
Yes.
important to get for people to know what we actually do.
Exactly. And that's where we're heading, right? I
I think you said IMDb stuff's coming
IMDb,
soon.
that's what I'm
That's
waiting to
huge.
find out.
We're hoping, and we're hoping it's getting close. The talks are happening, and it seems like it's moving in the correct direction. So I think that's going to be a precedent. And then they're letting more prop masters in the academy every year.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing too.
That's great. Because I know, like, at least for the way that I've worked, and this is how Doug taught me, we have our own discussions. We have our own meetings with the directors.
100%.
I don't necessarily work for the production designer. I work with the production designer.
Oh, totally.
Right.
But I don't
You're
work
your
for
own
them.
department. Yeah.
We're our own department. We have our own budget, and the nice thing is Andrew Jones is amazing, and Doug, our two or production designers, excuse me, and they on this show they trust me, but other shows, we have our own illustrators, we have our own fabrication,
Yep.
we have our own meetings. And so
Exactly.
I don't have to show the production designer
Right.
what I'm doing.
Sure.
Now I may want to just to make sure that it fits, but I
Right.
don't have
Of course.
to.
It's a collaboration,
Yeah.
but you are your own entity.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
that's why I think it's so important that IMDb recognizes that, and
Yes.
this guild and other
exactly.
stuff, 'cause it's
Because the other thing that property masters do that most other art department people don't do is have a relationship with actors.
Yeah.
And we have a strong relationship with actors. So
No, yeah. We work with everybody.
we work with every department.
every department.
I don't know
Yeah.
how many departments like us actually work with every department.
right. Exactly.
I don't think there is another one. Other maybe the director.
Maybe, or
Yeah,
the
the
ADs.
AD.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
the ADs,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. So, there's something to be
I
said
got a
about
nicer
that.
office than the ADs.
I know. I always do that too. Because I always put a lot into my office. Making my office look like a really nice place to be.
Yeah.
Because we spend a lot of time there, and it is about image. And we do show and tells in there and everything. So I always spend a lot of time making my office a good place to be. And
It's inspiration too.
often I get feedback from like the producers or the UPMs, like, man, your office is the best offices in this building. It's like, how did you get that office? Like, I don't know, you just gave it to me and I did it. But so I think it's an important.
Well, it's lighting. You got to do the lighting right.
Yes, of
But then,
course.
but it is like when I'm sitting and I have to think about. Okay, so you look. We're lucky we have all the scripts normally before we shoot.
That's nice.
So we have all we do 8 episodes. We have all 8 scripts. We have this amazing designscape that starts the design process from Doug Chang and his team of illustrators. But then you just sit there and you got to think. And I need a space for myself
Yeah.
that's inspirational,
Yes.
that's calm, that's quiet, where I can
Yes.
actually be creative and just
Right.
think, and
Yep.
so I can actually do my part of the show.
Yeah, and that's funny you say that because it's absolutely true. And how many times have you you go into a film and they're trying to shove you into this room with no windows, and it's like, oh, dude, I mean, we're creating in here too, and it's always a battle to get it. And sometimes I've gone like off campus, like I'll just have an office somewhere else.
Or I'd rather be on my trailer.
Or something,
Yeah. Well, I feel comfortable in my trailer. You make that's also the second home. So
I feel so cozy in my trailer.
Yeah.
Like I built it to where we're like, I just, this is my escape. I can work here whenever I need to. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
I hope you guys learned something today, or I don't know.
Dude.
Fun or
fascinating. I mean,
it's my first time out here in the boonies here.
Out to Santa Clarita.
That's right.
It's nice out here.
The Prop Talk Studio.
Prop Talk Studio.
That's right. Exactly. Well, it's been really great having you out here, and thanks for making a long drive.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, on a rainy Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to say, I think I'm pumped about everything that we just had a long Prop Masters Guild meeting, and I think like just in the next year we're about to like expand and do lots of great stuff. I mean, we've done a lot of stuff in the past year. We've only been an organization for 2 years, so we're still in our infancy, but we're growing. We're doing really, really well. We're expanding in New York and Chicago, and we just opened up to Europe.
Yep.
So I just want to say that to everybody out there. I mean, I'm hoping eventually to see applications come in now that we're kind of open everywhere. So I'm ready to see applications come in from South Africa, from Australia, from New Zealand. Please go to our website at propertymasterguild.org and just apply, like reach out to us. We need volunteers. We need all that stuff. Time. So I just want to, I mean, things are changing. They're heading in the right direction. Hopefully we can get Prop Masters credits. I don't know, credit cards.
Yes. Prop Master credit cards for everybody.
Yeah. With no interest.
So, we're trying to get that in the right direction. So, but yeah, we need help. So, we just, every year we're going to get bigger and better and I think it's only going to be good for us. So, yeah, go to our new and improved website.
Yeah, beautiful job.
Yeah, our website is fantastic now, and there's so much more better resources that are open to everybody. It's the benefits to being a member is insane now.
Right,
the amount that we're having rolled out. But Comic-Con again. I'm going to stress Comic-Con. Let's talk about Comic-Con before we roll out. We're going to be at LA Comic-Con this weekend. Yeah, it's going to be this weekend. So make sure you go over to Comic-Con this weekend. It's going to be at the LA Convention Center. We'll be there Friday after 5. We'll be there Saturday all day, and we'll be there Sunday pretty much all day. We're going to have panels on Sunday and Saturday. So both the same room in 308 AB, and both panels are going to be from noon to 1:30 on Saturday. We're going to have the Oppenheimer panel. We're going to have Guillaume Delouche and his prop team up there talking about all things Oppenheimer and what they did for all the props that took place in there. We're also going to have in our booth the bomb core from Oppenheimer, as well as a bunch of other Oppenheimer props. They're going to be there for a little while doing a demonstration. And then on Sunday, it's going to be our Star Wars Day, which you'll be able to come and hang out and be able to see the panel with Josh and with Brad and a lot of their prop guys out there just to answer questions about that. And they'll be hanging out in the booth with us for a little while too, to hang out with you guys and answer any questions you might have. So come and hang out with all of us. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun. Right. I want to meet everybody. Come.
Yes.
Right? You excited for it?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Great.
So this is going to be huge. We're going to be in West Hall, by the way. Our booth is going to be in West Hall. We're going to have one of the biggest spaces there, nice 20 by 30 foot space. Right when you come into the front entrance, you'll be able to find us right there. You can't miss us. So come hang out in our booth. We're going to have custom stickers. We're going to have custom pins with cool little props, and then we're going to be raffling off cruise swag.
Yes.
So we're gonna have props, cruise swags from shows. I believe we're raffling off a Truman Show jacket. We're auctioning off Oppenheimer stuff. I think a Thor crew T-shirt. There's just a whole bunch of really cool stuff that we're gonna be raffling off. So come hang out with us there. Once again, Josh, thank you for coming out and joining us.
No worries, my pleasure. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. Awesome. I'll do the whole spiel again. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Prop Talk, the official podcast of the Property Masters Guild, brought to you by real, working, and retired prop masters. If this is your first time listening or watching, I don't know if we've officially launched on YouTube, but if not, we will.
Not yet, but we will.
Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment anywhere you're hearing this. If you want to join the Property Masters Guild, or you would like more information on the Property Masters Guild, go over to our awesome website at propertymastersguild.org. If you have any questions for us here at Prop Talk, you can also go to that same website. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at _the PMG and all other socials. And yeah, I think that's it. So
beautiful.
Until next time.
Great job, Mikey. Thank you.
Yeah.